In the news in the world today, weekend warriors on Capitol Hill. Lawmakers battle over the budget and whether that bottom line will lead into your child's classroom. Then, an American peacemaker talks. U.S. warplanes take off. We'll have the latest on the mounting tensions in Kosovo.
From CNN Center in Atlanta, this is The World Today with Martin Savage and Lori Duke.
Hello and welcome. On Capitol Hill, lawmakers spent a rare Saturday in session. But the bottom line, no budget, little budging, and lots of bickering. Lawmakers are scrambling to approve a spending bill before a stopgap measure expires Monday night. They're also racing for a resolution so they can adjourn next week. But there is little optimism and lots of rhetoric. Most is fueled by partisan debate over a $6 billion proposal for education. We have two reports on the deepening battle lines. We begin with CNN's Carl Rochelle.
President Clinton made a brief detour on his way between the White House residence and the Oval Office Saturday because of a White House garden tour. Officials say he has been busy this weekend working to get a budget bill through Congress. And in his Saturday radio address, Mr. Clinton used the threat of a government shutdown to push the process along.
For the second time in 2 weeks, I signed stopgap legislation to keep our government running. But I can't keep granting extensions indefinitely.
Mr. Clinton sent his budget negotiators to Capitol Hill to work with lawmakers. Later, his chief of staff reported progress in some areas, but still more work ahead.
As badly as these fellows want to go home and begin their campaigns, they're going to have to stay and complete their work. One of the areas where they have the most work to do is in the area of education.
Bowles says the negotiations are deadlocked over the president's proposals to modernize the nation's schools and make classes smaller by adding 100,000 teachers. But Republicans accuse the White House of misrepresenting what's really going on in the negotiations, saying it's the administration that's holding things up.
Once the administration ever gets serious about concluding the negotiations, whether it's tonight or Sunday or Monday, we'll get it done. But for some reason, I presume it's so they can have more press conferences that misrepresent what's going on, we can't bring it to a conclusion.
Despite all the tough talk, both sides say privately they are unwilling to take the politically risky move of shutting down the government to make their point. And for the Clinton administration, the rancorous public debate over the budget bill has had the effect of pushing discussion over impeachment proceedings out of the headlines, at least until after the Columbus Day weekend. Carl Rochelle, CNN, the White House.
This is Luis Schiavone on Capitol Hill. Congressional Republicans rallied for political battle with the White House, rejecting Democratic suggestions that they just care about re-election campaigns.
We're ready to work.
With time running out on another continuing resolution to keep the government running, frustrated lawmakers reported for a rare Saturday session. The goal, to iron out differences in a massive omnibus spending bill. Democrats said there would be no deal without additional funds for school construction and reducing public school class sizes.
But we are committed to staying on the job for as long as it takes to deal with the urgent needs facing America's public schools and the children who depend on them.
Republican leaders charged it was a phony issue, purely intended to bolster the president.
He's had two cabinet meetings this year, and I believe next week he'll be having his 100th fundraiser. We've not seen or heard a word out of him. Oh, I did get a very brief happy birthday letter from him yesterday. I was pleased to receive that.
Negotiations continued throughout the day as political questions conspired with the issue of government spending to raise political hackles.
You can't say to Republicans, you can't use the surplus to give back to the American people in taxes, even if it's a tiny amount, but you can spend the surplus for bigger government.
GOP leadership sources tell CNN that besides education, the toughest issues include how to calculate the year 2000 census. Republicans fear a statistical sampling could redraw congressional districts to favor Democrats. Funding authority for the International Monetary Fund and demands for IMF reforms. And GOP attempts to restrict money for international groups that fund abortions. The House and Senate have decided not to work Sunday, but behind-the-scenes negotiations will continue. Members will rejoin the battle on Monday. Luis Schiavone for CNN, Capitol Hill.
Despite this week's congressional approval of an impeachment inquiry against President Clinton, his public support remains strong. According to the latest Newsweek poll, Mr. Clinton's job approval rating now stands at 58%. Statistically, that's about the same as it was 3 weeks ago. When pollsters asked what should happen now, fewer than 1 of 3 would like Mr. Clinton to resign. 11% say the impeachment inquiry should continue. Close to a third say a congressional censure or reprimand. And 1 in 4 want no congressional action at all.
Well, still ahead on the world today, a new bill that could keep the boys of summer on the field all season long.
That story at 17 after the hour and at 20 after. Join a few sailors on a grueling solo voyage, 27,000 miles around the world. And at 25 past, a look at your weekend weather. But next, Kosovo, some signs of progress. But is it enough to avert NATO airstrikes? Stay tuned.
The World Today is brought to you by the New York Times. Expect the world. And by Land's End Direct Merchants. 1-800-LANDS END.
We put it together. We pull it apart. We examine every aspect of human nature. The New York Times. Every day we reveal a world of meaning that others miss. The deeper you look, the more you see. The New York Times. Expect the world.
In the frozen Arctic, the harshest place on Earth, summer is brief. As the sun returns, life stirs again. That's when Pete Jess, bush pilot, polar veteran, and a Land's End customer, took our squall jacket for a tryout spin.
We get 30-knot winds up here. It'll freeze you in a hurry.
Not with the squall jacket on duty. It has an outer shell of 3-ply Supplex nylon, not 2-ply like some.
It stops the wind, it just plain stops it.
And now we've discovered a way to give it 10 times the water resistance of an ordinary Supplex jacket. Yet it's breathable, comfortable, and lined with Polartec 300. A fleece warm as wool, but much lighter.
In the Arctic, staying warm is everything.
The Land's End Squall Jacket. PGS recommends it warmly. Land's End Direct Merchants. For a free copy of our catalog, call 1-800-LANDS END.
Are rich people taller than the rest of us? Are their loved ones more deserving of an airbag? Was the sun created solely for their enjoyment? Are we the only car company that doesn't think so? Century by Buick, full of amenities for under $20,000. Now, during Buick's Fall Collection event, save over $2,500 on the 98 Century with 0.9 APR financing. Century by Buick, a luxury car for everyone.
Tonight at the Movie Lounge, it's Internal Affairs with special guests, comedian Barry Sobel and All My Children's T.C. Warner. The Movie Lounge, tonight at 10:40 Eastern on the Superstation.
Defense Secretary William Cohen has ordered the deployment of 6 B-52 bombers, a reconnaissance plane, and 13 tankers to Britain in preparation for possible NATO military action in Kosovo. This, as the Serbian government reports talks between U.S. envoy Richard Holbrooke and Yugoslav President Slobodan Milosevic have created the likelihood of a political settlement to the crisis. Both reports come amid mounting tensions in central Kosovo, where the Kosovo Liberation Army soldiers continue patrolling the disputed region. Tempers flared between the KLA and Serb police in the area Saturday, but the KLA reportedly stuck by its ceasefire. The waiting is also difficult for ethnic Albanian refugees. In the Drenica region, tens of thousands are trying to build makeshift shelters. That is, they brace for possible airstrikes and wait for the day they'll be able to return home to Kosovo. CNN's Richard Blystone has the latest on efforts to bring peace.
In a day of shuttling, a pause for an overall no progress report.
So where are we? Well, we're where we were earlier today, we're where we were yesterday. Extremely serious situation, and there's no change there.
The U.S. envoy spoke after meeting ethnic Albanian leader Ibrahim Rugova. The main issue here, the key international goal of getting talks started. And that means getting the majority Albanians to accept the prospect of less than total Kosovo independence. Holbrooke praised the president of the self-declared Republic of Kosovo.
He continues to represent an important, moderate leadership in a situation where all sides increasingly have resorted to violence.
But he gave no details of the talks. The Albanian leader told CNN Friday he still wants independence. With an international protectorate as an interim stage, something that would let Kosovo be demilitarized and create a climate for negotiation. But there's little world backing for that, and the Allies favor Kosovo autonomy. It's critical to have both airstrikes and NATO ground troops here, Rugova said, but there, too, he gets no support. One sure benefit of Holbrooke's diplomatic marathon, a United Nations aid convoy that was expected to be canceled, headed south from Pristina. Blankets, food, and soap for 15,000 to 16,000 refugees in and around Uroševac. Aid workers acutely aware that NATO airstrikes, if they happen, would interrupt the lifeline for nobody knows how long.
It's difficult for us at the political level to understand what's going on, so we're just trying to hope. We're hoping that something will be resolved in the next day or two.
In this area, most aid recipients are living with host families. But elsewhere, the agencies fear for what they believe may be tens of thousands still in need of warm shelter for winter. Every day that the talking goes on is another day to try to provide for the unknown. And that goes not only for the international agencies. Pristina shows little sign of panic hoarding of supplies, but both ethnic Serbs and ethnic Albanians have been thinking about what bombing would mean. We must defend ourselves, says a Serb girl. It'll make a lot of innocent victims, but we have to anyway. No change from the ethnic line on the Albanian side either. Yes, he's afraid of a backlash, he says, but the Serbs will kill us anyway, and they can't do more than that. Richard Blystone, CNN, Pristina, Yugoslavia.
Russia is warning that it might throw its weight behind Yugoslavia if NATO uses force to resolve the crisis in Kosovo. Russian Prime Minister Yevgeny Primakov says that if NATO strikes, Russia may be forced to revise its relationship with the Western alliance. A top Russian military official says Russia is prepared to provide Yugoslavia with weapons if necessary.
CNN will continue to track this developing story. National Security Advisor Sandy Berger will be our guest on CNN's Late Edition, as will Democratic Senator Joe Biden and his Republican counterpart, Arlen Specter. That's tomorrow's Late Edition, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. on the West Coast. In Central Africa, rescue crews are searching for possible survivors from a downed airliner. Rebel troops say they shot down the 727 near Kindu Airport. That is in the eastern part of the Democratic Republic of Congo. An airline official says 41 people were aboard. A rebel leader says the plane was transporting government soldiers. The revolt against Congo's government erupted 2 months ago. Returning now to the United States, political leaders from Capitol Hill to the White House are condemning the brutal beating of an openly gay college student. 21-year-old Matthew Shepard was found beaten and tied to a wooden fence earlier this week. The University of Wyoming student is in critical condition with severe head injuries.
He remains on ventilator-assisted breathing, and we continue to actively work for Matthew's life support at this point. I've had some questions about whether or not the family has decided to pull the plug, and we are working very intently on Matthew, giving him every possible medical remedy that we can at this point.
Police say the two men charged with attempted murder lured Shepard from a campus bar by saying they were gay. Gay rights activists say the attack underlines the need for tougher hate crime legislation.
The Ku Klux Klan staged a rally through the town of Jasper, Texas, for the second time since a black man was dragged to death on a rural road this summer. Some 40 Klan members marched at the town's courthouse, where 3 white men will stand trial for the June murder of James Byrd Jr. Dozens of police protected the Klan members from about 70 Jasper residents who showed up to protest that rally. There were no arrests.
Coming up on The World Today at 25 after the hour, a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. And at the bottom of the hour, business unusual with Lou Dobbs. But first, the remarkable Around Alone race, a solo voyage around the globe. But these sailors aren't completely alone. We'll explain when we come back.
It has been said that all the gold and silver in the world isn't 1/10 as valuable as a single child's dreams. So we ask, if gold and silver travel in armored cars, how do we transport those dreams? Drive safely.
Save your pennies. It's gonna be twins. Twins? The bonus you're counting on? Not gonna happen. You're kidding. In the fall of 2002, your mother-in-law's gonna be moving in, along with all 18 cats.
Wouldn't it be great if you could talk to an older, wiser version of yourself?
Bank's gonna be turning you down on your mortgage. Turns out that they did you a favor. The house is on a fault line.
With generations of insurance and other financial experience, a money agent is the next best thing.
Be nice to Lansing, my new assistant. He's gonna be your boss.
Life's an adventure because you're over 50 and still exploring. So take the Centrum made just for you, Centrum Silver, with age-essential nutrients specially adjusted to keep pace with your changing nutritional needs. Centrum Silver, it's a great time to be silver.
Uh-oh. I'm a junior VP, and all the junior VPs have one of these. So I'll just call my secretary, and then she'll... voicemail. Chuck, number 4's down.
Gotcha. I'm a mailroom guy, and all the mailroom guys get to see the phones that the senior VPs get.
Nextel's two-way radio feature makes ordinary cell phones seem ordinary. Now save $100 on the new i1000.
You perfected your game plan in Cleveland. Had everyone talking in L.A. Then fell off the face of the earth in Aruba. In over 100 locations. Where there's a Wyndham, there's a way.
Major League Baseball could soon lose its 76-year exemption from antitrust laws. A bill partially removing that protection passed Congress this week and needs only the president's signature. Supporters say the changes will finally end years of strife between owners and players. Here's CNN's Cynthia Tornquist.
Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa made this season one for the record books. Now Congress has made its own mark on baseball history when it passed a bill revoking a 1922 Supreme Court ruling that exempted the game from antitrust laws.
This offers the fans, I think, the certainty, almost certainty, that there will be nothing but baseball to worry about. The focus will be on baseball and not on labor unrest.
Congressman Jim Bunning, a former pitcher who was inducted into the Hall of Fame, says players can now resort to the courts instead of strikes or boycotts.
There is an ultimate arbitrator, and that is the federal district courts of the United States.
Sports analysts say the 1922 ruling had deprived players of some of the protections enjoyed by athletes of other professional sports and has been blamed for baseball's many work stoppages, including the 1994-95 strike.
Owners could do whatever they wanted, in that they could lock players out, or during a strike they could negotiate in what the players would argue is not in good faith, and there's not that much they could do about it.
The bill lifts the exemption for the majors, but not the minor leagues. It also only deals with labor relations, not issues concerning team relocation or league expansion.
So baseball can still decide where franchises are going. It can still decide where minor league teams are going to be located. And in many ways, that is a lot of the power that major league owners cherish most.
Both owners and players support the legislation.
When we looked at our labor relations, it became apparent that while they do have collectively bargained disputes, you've got a lockout in basketball right now, they are fewer by a lot. And in addition to that, in many occasions, they are able to reach agreements that in baseball we haven't been able to reach.
While passage of the bill is smart business for baseball, sports analysts say it is also a goodwill gesture, showing fans that owners and players can put aside their squabbles and play ball. Cynthia Tornquist, CNN, New York.
A government recall of tainted meat and poultry used by schools, hospitals, and prisons has been extended. The September 28th recall involved about 2 million pounds of cooked beef, pork and chicken patties processed in Georgia. New tests revealed continued salmonella contamination at the processing plant. The recall is for institutions in 34 states where Zartic Incorporated shipped the tainted products. None of it was sold in stores.
An international competition has begun to sail a boat around the world. Been done before, you say? Well, yes, but rarely with a one-person crew. CNN's Marcia Walton reports on the elite group of skippers embarked on this high-tech voyage.
16 sailors are racing 27,000 miles across the globe in the grueling Around Alone competition.
So it means that for us there is no nights and days. We are working all the time. But we used to sleep by periods of 1 hour. And when it's really difficult, 20 minutes.
The noise that we heard from you.
But these racers are not really alone anymore. Technology adds a new level of connection for the sailors and for millions discovering the sport on the internet.
Well, now with the technology, we can be in touch through email, through satellite phone. We can send picture, we can send video. So now suddenly people can participate in the sport. They can see us. The downside is that we have no privacy anymore.
So this is another way of looking at the actual boats.
Quokka Sports is presenting the race on the Around Alone website.
It's raining, it's great, overcast, squalls are coming through.
The raw material comes from the skippers themselves, who transmit emails, audio clips, and digital pictures of their voyage.
Golf and tennis transformed in the 50s and the 60s as a result of television. Before that, it was just a regional event. I think it's true for sailing. That's what we're seeing now. It's become a global spectator event.
Registered virtual sailors can set their own courses and compare their progress with the racers and other cyber sailors. But they'll miss out on some experiences.
When you like nature, when you like sailing, being outside, alone on the ocean with only the sky and the sea and the birds sometimes, and you feel very well. You feel you are at your place. It's incredible.
Skippers should hit the finish line back at Charleston sometime next May. Marcia Walton, CNN, Charleston, South Carolina.
Tomorrow Today is brought to you by IBM, solutions for a small planet.
Per generazioni la famiglia Capeci ha prodotto il miglior olio d'oliva di tutta l'Umbria. All'improvviso il mondo è cambiato. Globalizzazione, tragedia.
Perché piangi?
Piango perché tu devi partire per salvare la famiglia.
Ma nonna, c'è un modo nuovo di fare le cose. Io non devo partire.
Come? Mi fai piangere per niente.
It's the transportation system of the next millennium, moving the goods that move our economy. An advanced computer network will track every shipment. Experienced engineers will oversee each mission. But perhaps the most remarkable feature of this system of tomorrow is that it's here, today. Norfolk Southern, the future of transportation, is the thoroughbred of transportation.
For Dodge Intrepid, we looked beyond a great look and took cab-forward architecture to a new place. With a spacious cabin, a very useful pass-through, and a cavernous trunk, Intrepid is an automobile for today, wrapped in a shape for the next millennium. Well equipped for as low as $20,440.
Tonight on Cold War, Churchill arrives with a warning.
An iron curtain has descended across the continent.
But most ignore the signs of a coming Cold War. The landmark documentary series, tonight 10 Eastern on CNN.
Tonight on Larry King Weekend, one of the most powerful men in entertainment history. Michael Eisner is our guest. He'll discuss his life and successful reign at Disney. Tonight, 9 Eastern on CNN.
I'm watching you, CNN.
Coming up on Business Unusual, the mint that calls itself Curiously Strong has developed a curiously strong following. We'll take a look at what's behind the Altoids craze. Also ahead, she was once a member of the Israeli army. Now she develops survival strategies for the world's most powerful companies. You'll meet the commander of an elite consulting company. All of that and a lot more coming up on Business Unusual.
The continuing crisis in Yugoslavia will be in the news Sunday here on CNN. Expect congressional reaction to the latest developments aimed at preventing NATO action in Kosovo. First Lady Hillary Rodham Clinton departs for Eastern Europe with visits planned for Sofia, Bulgaria, and Prague in the Czech Republic for the second annual Forum 2000 conference. And in a Vatican City, Pope John Paul II will attend the official canonization ceremony for Edith Stein, the Jewish-born nun killed in the Auschwitz gas chambers.
Well, a couple of big weather stories brewing tonight. We've got snow in the Rockies and some record rain in Maine. Let's get more on that now from Rose Stabler.
That's right, Lori. Talking about the snow, if you'll notice this area in pink and blue, this is a big area of snow with sleet in the northern Rockies. We have some advisories posted there. The other problem area is in New England, especially in Maine. Since midnight, over 5 inches of rainfall has fallen in Portland. This breaks a previous record, which was set in October of '71. And as we take a look at some of the watches, we have a heavy snow advisory. This is for areas above 5,000 feet in the north central Rockies. I'm expecting anywhere of up to 6 inches of snowfall accumulations, especially in Montana. The other area is in southern Maine. We have flood warnings and watches in effect, and I expect that these will be extended to the entire state of Maine for tomorrow. This is due to an area of low pressure that is just not moving, and looks like it's going to be causing rain over Maine. That rhymes, doesn't it? The rain in Maine over the plain? No, whatever. Anyway, it looks like it's going to be extended into Monday as that area of low pressure causes a good bit of rain over Maine. As we take a look at our low temperatures for tonight, cooler temperatures in the Rockies, 20s and 30s, mild in the east, especially along the Gulf Coast. For tomorrow, we're going to see heavy rainfall and snow, still associated with that disturbed area of weather in the eastern Rockies. As we work our way into tomorrow evening, this area of low pressure joins up with this front, so very heavy precipitation over the Dakotas and also western Minnesota. Some isolated showers on the northwest coastline as a front moves in, and that rain continues in Maine. Otherwise, beautiful weather across the rest of the nation with high temperatures generally in the 40s and 50s in the north, 70s and 80s in the south. Now look at these forecasts. Lori?
Rose, thank you. Well, speaking of Maine, you probably think of it and the rest of New England when you think of lobsters, but they also love them on the West Coast. Armed with claw crackers and hefty appetites, quite a crowd turned out for the 4th annual Redondo Beach Lobster Festival. While the partygoers were local, the lobsters were not. More than 10 tons of live Maine lobster were flown to the Southern California community for the feast. The reason lobster prices in California are so high, it was cheaper to ship them from Maine.
And about 3 tons of hot butter. That's the world today. Thanks for being with us. I'm Martin Savage.
And I'm Lori Dew. Have a great evening.
They say technology gives you the freedom to experience the world, especially when it's so affordable, like Jeep Cherokee Sport. With air, power windows and locks, and remote keyless entry at no extra charge. Cherokee Sport. Now that's a cool way to access the sights you see online.
Sunday on CNN's Late Edition, persistent president